What is it? Is it the symbol of the Avengers? Is it the bat signal? Is it the symbol for a prominent hotel chain? No, 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 no. This is a symbol of Honda, and not the motorcycle Honda, or not the all the great lawnmowers and other things like that, or small engines, or even the little generators. No, no, no. This is the symbol of Honda automobiles. And this is the magnificent new 2023 HRV. Let us go deep within it and find its secrets. Well, we can have lunch. It's up to you. You know, in a lot of ways, Honda has become the home of the RV. But I don't mean recreational vehicle. No. No, 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 no. I mean the CRV, one of the world's most popular compact SUVs. And this little beauty here, the 2023 Honda HRV. Of course, HRV stands for Happy Roading Vehicle. I have no idea what it stands for. I think it probably doesn't stand for anything. You know, I've been trying to get rid of this whole alphanumeric crap. They don't listen. They don't believe that they need to do this. They are perfectly happy with what they have. But I'll tell you something. They've done a lot of work over the last few years on this particular compact. Yeah, it's not really subcompact. It's smaller than the CRV, yes, but not a lot smaller. That's for sure. And it's a beautiful little vehicle and has so much practicality about it. And for 2023, they did something kind of amazing. They boosted the horsepower quite a bit. The previous model had like 138, 37, something like that horsepower. Well, this 2023 model has a 2-liter inline-4, normally aspirated, that puts out 158 horsepower. So that is quite an improvement. And it also comes with your front wheel or your all-wheel drive, and we of course have the all-wheel drive version. And it's a beautiful little car. I kind of like the lines better than I like the CRV. I mean, is it the offspring of the CRV? No. But I look at it as the CRV is the offspring of the Honda Pilot, and this is the CRV's little brother that is also the offspring of the Honda Pilot. So all these vehicles have one thing in common: they got a lot of room in them for their size. And that's a very practical thing. But they're also Hondas, so they got all kinds of nice stuff. And a very unique way of doing things as Honda does. And I even like this paint color. This is an optional paint color, which is called, hang on, Nordic Forest. Nordic Forest, Yes, I can see that there is some Nordic in the forest here. It's kind of it's hard to describe other than it's a really nice color. And I like the trend we're seeing with a lot of manufacturers to go back to more non-metallic paint jobs. This is a nice solid enamel type. It's just a beautiful color. And the paint looks like it would last 1,000 years. Or maybe at least as long as you have the car, which is what you want. So let us take a look at this brand new, much more powerful power plant. Wowie zowie. Will you look at this? I want you to take the children out of the room because this engine is so very exposed. But man, it's beautiful. As you can see, there's the engine block. It's just sitting here. And what you see directly in front of you is the exhaust and the catalytic converter right there, below that. And here is our little 2-liter engine that puts out 158 horsepower and I believe 138 pounds of feet in the torque department. It's interesting that this engine does not say anything like Earth Dreams or anything else. I know the Honda had a lot of engine families there that were the Earth Dream engines, primarily because they were very low in emissions, very efficient, considered to be good for the environment. But I don't know, maybe they've just dropped it for one reason or another. I seriously doubt this engine is any less efficient or good for, or beneficial in terms of its lower emissions than any of the other engines, the Earth Dream included, but who knows these terms, and yet they won't name the car anything but an alphanumeric thing. God. But anyway, as you can see, our intake division is back in the back towards the firewall, and the exhaust is up front. This, of course, being an O2 sensor, more than likely. So, whereas so many manufacturers like to put the exhaust in the back, Honda has decided on this vehicle to put all your exhaust plumbing in the front. And look at all the excellent room it has around it. And that's good for just general cooling as well, but it's also very good for access to the engine, as if you're ever really going to have to do a lot to it, because it's a Honda and they're pretty doggone reliable, as you may know. But here's an interesting thing. Up here you got, let me see here. There we go. There we are. All right, see this here? Now this here, air comes in here and it comes in to that little grill right there, and subsequently into the, and then into the air filter right there, and around back as part of your intake system. Very, very clever, very nicely done. I still can't get over how much space there is, and how, if you look at it, it's hard to look at it on the camera like this, but if you look at it in person, it looks like they just dropped an engine in there. Bloop! And there she is. There's your motor. Go on your way, please. It's quite good. I like it. So, we'll see how it drives, and we'll see what kind of economy we actually get out of it. It may do a lot better than its Earth Dream's predecessors. We'll see. But one thing is for sure, it does have a whole lot more power than last year's version of this car. And that's always welcome, right? We all love more power. So let's find out, if we take a look in the hatch area, if I am a liar when I say that there's more room than you might think. Ah, there we are. So, we have the traditional 60-40 fold down of the rear seats to expand the cargo area. We have a nice broad load floor that doesn't have as high a liftover as a lot of the ones we've seen recently. So it's kind of if you split the difference between a vehicle that has a fairly low liftover height or one that has a very high liftover height, it's kind of in between these two things. And the question that I'm always asking, you know, additional storage. And what about under the additional storage, eh? Yeah, there's our friend. The temporary, temporary spare tire. Oh my God, I've broken the car. Oh, there we are. We're fine now. But as you can see, it's a fairly roomy environment. You can get 2 healthy-sized suitcases back there, a couple of dog carriers, depending on the size of the dog, of course. Several cat carriers, depending on the size of the cat. And it's very, very useful. And if we shut the door, like so, and we come around, let us examine, because I'm very curious right off the bat. How about this rear seat? Oh, there is documentation. Is it for us? Shall we examine it? Ah, yes. the Monroney. As you can see, this is an all-wheel drive EXL version of the HRV, and it is nicely equipped. It's not overly equipped. It's not just loaded and festooned with all kinds of things. There is no navigation system, which tasks me, but it's okay. This is the way we deal with these things. We just we move on. Where was this car built, by the way? It was actually assembled in Celaya, Guanajuato, Mexico. I don't even know where in Mexico that is. It's not on the coast, I don't think. So I would know nothing about it, because I'm a diver, and that's all we care about. But what's our bottom line here? Well, with all the festoonery and the destination handling, all that stuff, $30,590. That is a very reasonable price for such a very, very nicely equipped vehicle. And did I mention it's a Honda? See, that accounts for a lot, by the way, the fact that it's a Honda. So we take that and we fling it. And now we shall look and see something that we don't do enough on this stupid channel. We have our fold down ability to make actually a fair amount of room back here. If you needed to move like your dorm room, or I think you could get a medium-sized large dog carrier back here. If you got something like a German Shepherd dog or one of those things. Very, very nice. And it's also very easy to get in and out of, and it's also very comfortable. They've done very well with this Honda. As you'll notice on the right side of your screen, you are revealed the speedometer, which is a mechanical unit. Very, very concise and easy to read, elegantly done, top notch, top notch. Now on the left side you have this computer here. There we go. And this is where you get, I would call it more of an information central. You do have a tachometer there, but it is not a mechanical tachometer. It is, of course, a virtual one, because there's all kinds of things going on with the virtual nature of it. Means that you can put all kinds of different functions there, including I believe, let's see what we have here. Let's play with it for a minute, shall we? Where's our information seeking? Here we go. Everybody does it differently, folks. But here we have, I can reset my trip A reset, which I do not want to do, so I'll cancel that. But we can go into different little, there's A and B. Right. And then we can just hit this and hit this. And what else? Here we go. We go with range and fuel, which is what I was on. Navigation. That's all I'll tell you, because this car does not have a navigation system, so you get a compass. Enjoy your compass, because that's all you're going to get. And next, we can go to all-wheel drive torque distribution. Isn't that cool? See, depending on which wheels are actually providing power, it will tell you and inform you in a jolly way. And now we go down seat belts. Yeah, we don't need to know that. Maintenance, when you need your maintenance, what your maintenance situation is. Safety support. What's that? Apparently I have all my safety support systems. The front pedestrian, anti-run over pedestrian thingy, my blind spot warning, my rear backup, all that good stuff is right there, as you may require. No content, that's my favorite. See? They're telling the truth. There is no content there. And then we go down to brightness and gauge display settings. Ooh. Excuse me. Now, what can we do with this? Well, range and fuel, speed and time, audio, phone, navigation, driver attention, and all-wheel drive torque. All these different things. What I like is range and fuel. And there, I've now indicated this is my choice. And then we go back. And warnings. Do we have any? None. Good to see there's no warnings. And that's where we're going to stick with there. Range and fuel. 36.6 miles on this particular trip meter, and with a range of 260 miles left over, and an average fuel economy of 24.2 miles per gallon. So there, huh? Nice. Very simple, very elegant, very easy to understand. Now we go over and we have what I consider to be a very nice size for any kind of a touchscreen. You got to have a size that works with you. You know, work with me here. And this is a good size. And it is also, of course, in our favorite format, which is the landscape format, as opposed to the portrait format or the tablet format. Subaru, Volvo. Sorry. Boy, I'm in a frisky mood today. And then below this, and it is, by the way, it's a very, very clear, sharp, wonderful. I would show you the navigation system, but it doesn't have one. I tell you what I can show you. There's our backup camera, which is a really good high-resolution unit. And look at all the choices you have. You can use this. You can use that, which is, I do believe, that appears to be grass directly in front of the vehicle. And that is, I don't know what that is. But there you go. Excellent, excellent backup cameras. Thank you for that. Down here we have our climate control center, and as usual you do have an auto setting you can select, and you can select the either side of the zone, the front zones being the left and right seats, and you can synchronize them together, which it is now, or you can turn it off, and I can make my passenger boil, because I don't like my passenger. My passenger is someone that I don't care for. But now my wife is in there, so I'll put 68 back in there. See? Very easily done. There we have our phone charging area, our cup holding area. So we're charging and holding right there. And then we have our shifter. Now the shifter is one that is suited for the continuously variable transmission. So what do we have? What choices do we have? Well, we have reverse, neutral, drive, and then we have S. Now what does S do? Well, S is a little sportier, but it's all primarily designed so you get a little bit more engine braking, and it's better on hills and that kind of things. And if your hills are really getting real, you know, hilly, you put it in low. That's how that works. Fair enough. Then we have the drive mode selector, and that features economy, snow, oops, sorry, and normal. That's it. There is no like sport plus 5,000 or anything like that. This is nice and reasonable on that account. So that's basically it. You have a nice a little console here that is actually fairly roomy. Again, it's that Honda thing that it seems to have a lot more room than you would expect. There is a whole lot of headroom here up there. Isn't that pretty? That's our standard, our what I would call normal, as opposed to a panoramic sunroof. And you got plenty of headroom. I think even very tall people could fit in here without any difficulty at all. And finally, on the steering wheel, what do we have? Well, you have your cruise control to the right side, including adaptive cruise control, so you can adjust the follow distance. And then we have the lane weavy, or also known as the lane maintainer, or whatever the hell they're calling it. The lane, what are they? God, I can't even remember. There are so many different words that now describe the same thing. Lane tracing. But anyway, that's designed to help keep you in your lane, as opposed to just warning you about it. They actually do something about it. And it's good for them, yeah? And then we have, over here is our remote audio system controls, so you can just use your thumb to do all this stuff over here, as well as the little computer, which I was just showing you earlier, is right there. Okay, all right. So, upholstery is great. It's it appears to be leather. I'll have to look. Wait, hang on now. Let's have a look, shall we? And let's see, interior features, leather trim seats, huh? leather wrap steering wheel, driver's 8-way power seat, heated front seats that are covered with leather, 9-inch touchscreen with multi-view rear camera. I demonstrated all that. It's covered with, no, it's not covered with leather. But anyway, a lot of good things in this little car. If you have an average, like from 0 to 60 or whatever, for a particular class of vehicle, such as the compact SUV, then that's worth noting, and that's what usually people will point out. But if it's about in the range, in a reasonable range of all the rest of it, you move on and you look at other things that might interest you. For example, you may not, the exact time for, say, 0 to 60 or whatever, that may be the same between two vehicles, but they may get there in two very different ways as far as how they feel, how the transmission feels, how the engine feels. Is the engine really straining? Does the engine feel like it's very comfortable doing this? Is it turbocharged? Does it turbocharge just kick in like crazy all of a sudden? Or is it much smoother? All these things matter. And this is where, on this particular vehicle, this is what I am going to introduce to you in this concept, which is the big thing I notice about the performance of this inline 4-cylinder engine is not the engine itself, which is very good, but the transmission, which is the continuously variable transmission. And it, in its way, seems a little laggy to me, and it also makes a pretty fair amount of noise. And like with so many Hondas I've tested over the years, there is a fair amount of road noise with this thing. It's not what I would describe as excessive, but I would describe it as above average for the compact SUV class. Especially, this is not what I would consider to be a base trim line. This is a higher up trim line. And it is very nicely equipped. And it feels well built. That's, you know, typical Honda quality. The build quality of Hondas has always been excellent. And this is no exception. It's really, really has a nice solid feel to it. Everything fits together. This particular one only has 1,500 miles on it so far, but it's 1,500 miles of being tortured by journalists and other people. I mean, who knows what this particular unit has been through? You have no idea. So, but the reason I bring all this up is even with a low amount of mileage on it like that, sometimes squeaks, rattles, and that kind of things can start to show themselves. And so you can't 100% judge the breed on if you get one that's got rattles and that kind of thing. This vehicle is rattle-free. It feels rock solid. There's absolutely nothing I have to say about it that imparts anything other than top-level assembly, which I believe I noted earlier. It's made in Mexico. It's very hot down there during certain times of the year. And then the other times of the year, it's really hot. Or so I used to be told back when I lived very close to the border with Mexico. What else do we have here? Well, we have a very bright sun. An interesting thing about the sun visors on all cars. I've driven quite a few cars over the years that have had what I would consider to be fair sunshades, but not really good ones. And then, like on one of the vehicles I own, it's great because it has this sleeve, so if you want to whip it over to the side to take the sun out of the equation over here, it also has a little part that slides out to completely cover that and make it useful. You don't see that much anymore, at least I haven't. And it's those little touches that I really feel like they spend a lot of time testing the car in actual driving situations. because that's not the kind of thing that will necessarily pop up on you when you're sitting behind your computer console and put in sunlight. I'm sure somebody's written some brilliant little program that will tell you where the sun enters the windshield during all kinds of things. Oh, part of the road's falling apart. That's good. It's a good thing the taxes in my town are through the roof, because at least we don't have that. But anyway, they probably have a way of telling via a computer program the angle at which the sun's going to come through the windshield and what that means. And then they can put their simulated driver in there and determine whether or not they can do all that without ever leaving the lab. However, I like a company that does that and drives it around on the road for a couple of years before they actually sell it to the public. That's one thing that computer-aided design has really helped at getting things out the door faster. Especially from, you go to an auto show or whatever, you see a concept car, and that concept car, something very close to it, is going to be on the road faster than they ever used to be, thanks to all these different computer-aided design systems and everything else. But I think there's one problem. They don't take the time they used to just real world these things. And again, I'm mentioning all this not because this vehicle has any shortfalls in this way. It really doesn't. Like I said, the only thing I find a little bit... Can you hear that? Your continuously variable transmission. That's the only thing about it that just does... And my water thing, my water thermos that keeps flipping around all over everywhere. That's the only real thing about this car that I am not enamored with. The suspension's very good, and it seems to handle corners very, very well. There's a little bit of body lean, but nothing to incommode you in your driving experience. It's actually very, very well controlled, and I admire the fact that it does handle the way it does, a lot of which is a benefit of the fact that it's not a huge vehicle. Although, if you notice, if you ever take a good look at like the Honda Pilot, and I haven't seen the brand new, all new CR-V yet. I will soon though. Honda's always taken these SUV type things and the Ridgeline and tend to have a pretty wide stance on it, which also helps in stability and handling and body lean. It really does make a difference. So they put all these tools together, and that's one of the reasons you have a very competent handling vehicle, but you still have, look at all the headroom on this thing. It's incredible, really. A lot of room. It can actually make one feel like a wee driver, like a tiny man. I am the wee driver, tiny dude. Because it has so much generous headroom. They always had the original CR-V, the very first one. I vividly remember, I mentioned before, I believe, that it was like sitting in a school bus as far as the way it was very upright. And I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way. It just had a completely different feel from anything else on the road. It was quite amazing. But it also had such generous headroom on it for such a small vehicle. It was very impressive. And this is not quite like that. And the CR-V has gradually, I think, done the same thing. It's not quite as big as it used to be in terms of you could wear your 10-gallon hat, you put your Stetson on, or maybe you have a resistol you like to wear while you're driving, you know, like you're on a horse except you're in your car, if you like that. Not quite as generous as it used to be, but still plenty of headroom, both front and back. The rear seat's very, very good too. So with all your long, lean Texas friends, you can put Lyle Lovett in the back of this if you want to. He can ride back there. He'd be fine. He's such a nice guy, though. He probably wouldn't complain, even if he was a little uncomfortable, provided that you were only going across town. If you're going from like Memphis, Tennessee to maybe down to Miami or something. I don't know if he'd be very happy. He'd write a song about it though that would be fantastic. That's what he would do. That's what Lyle would do. You can really hear that transmission. It's one of the big advantages I've seen with so many companies is they've gotten their CVTs much quieter, and I wouldn't put Honda in that category just yet. I do believe it's quieter than it used to be, but it's not as quiet as one would like. They'll get it. They're Honda, they'll fix it. Give it the gun, Algernon. 60 miles an hour. Now, I didn't have it floored, but you can tell this is no powerhouse, but it is adequate in its acceleration, and it's going to return, I believe, very good mileage. And that's really important, you know. If you're going to balance between miles per gallon and 0 to 60 times, and you lean towards 0 to 60 times, we live in a different age now. Children. I know you youngsters like to push the pedal and fly. Some of you old people do too, but the fact of the matter is, what's more important than that is how fuel efficient it is. And here we are entering the underworld. Well, our HRV appears to have a fair amount of protective cladding, and it is, again, the lightweight stuff. They don't put big, you know, armor type stuff that you'd get off like a Abrams tank or something on the bottom of these cars, but they do put a fairly stout little plastic that if you do take it on a light off-road excursion, you have some protection. And it looks like primarily we're focusing on the engine compartment, the engine area, and near as I can tell, the fuel system is also pretty well protected. So, like I said, it's not meant to go like serious off-roading, but it is, you can drive in confidence in situations that are less than billiard ball perfect pavement. And that's what they're after all, is for people that want to go off-road a little bit to get to that campsite or that kind of thing. And in general, it looks pretty solid. The thing about Honda suspension components I've noticed over the years, especially with something like a CRV or this HRV, is that they look like may not be the strongest things in the world, but they're a lot stronger than they look. It's just a design choice about how they're fabricated, and like the lower A-arm there. Well, actually, this has this. Let's see here. Hang on. Let's look underneath there. There's where the drive shaft's at. Well, this is yeah, it is like a lower A-arm situation. But sorry it's so dark, by the way. Yeah, it's dark under there. I think a storm's coming. But anyway, so there you have it. It does have a bit of ground clearance, and it does have a bit of protection. Exactly, just looking at the vehicle and the vehicle's purpose in life, this is pretty much exactly what you would expect in terms of these particular situations where they put a fair amount of aerodynamic cladding on the bottom of it. And that same cladding also offers a bit of protection when you go and take your kayak to that special spot where only you know where it is. And fortunately, there's a road going right to it, so. Okay, enough of that already. I've been studying on it and thinking about it, and I think the hardest decision you're going to face when it comes to this here Honda HRV is whether or not you're going to buy this or you're going to buy a CRV, because they're so close to each other in the Honda lineup in so many ways. But the thing is, The HRV is a little bit more compact. It'll fit in a little bit smaller spaces. Probably be a little bit more economical to own in terms of fuel consumption and that kind of thing. And they're both great. I mean, but I like the overall construction of this thing is beautiful. So think about it. Take care, everybody.
Geisten halten wir, Gesanken